Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a fascinating and frankly exhausting dilemma that, let's be honest, pretty much all of us face every single day. We're unpacking the core ideas from Ryuho Okawa's work, specifically looking at a text originally delivered back in March of 1987. It takes a really hard look at the gritty reality of the daily corporate grind, and it asks a pretty bold question. How do we actually balance the relentless pursuit of profit with a higher spiritual purpose? Let's jump right in and see how this text proposes a total reimagining of the business world. Which brings us to the big central question of the text. For centuries, we've basically been told you can either be a ruthless, profit-driven shark or a spiritually fulfilled person, but rarely both. Is the pursuit of profit fundamentally at odds with spiritual truth? Well, this explainer is going to unpack exactly how the author challenges that age-old assumption. In the new business revolution, Okawa doesn't just sit back and criticize corporate life. Instead, he proposes a completely revolutionary framework called ideal economics to solve the modern worker's dilemma. It's an ambitious attempt to merge the raw, physical survival required in business with the spiritual elevation of the human soul. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The salaryman's struggle. 2. Profit versus spiritual truth. 3. Defining ideal economics. And 4. The workplace as a dojo. Let's start with Section 1. The salaryman's struggle, the spiritual toll of the daily grind. The text paints this incredibly vivid, almost painfully relatable picture of the corporate routine. 6 a.m., you wake up already completely exhausted. By 8:30, you're crushed onto a suffocating, sweaty commuter train, literally unbuttoning your collar just to get a breath of air. You spend the entire day fueled by instant coffee and anxiety over sales targets. And then, late at night, comes the forced drinking and karaoke with colleagues. The author actually describes commuters pouring out of train doors like a swarm of black ants. It really captures that profound sense of isolation, doesn't it? Just the fleeting, temporary nature of surviving the modern grind. And witnessing this relentless struggle is exactly what drives the author's message. To quote the text directly, "I desperately want to liberate their minds to a world of freedom." Okawa observes all these business people essentially suppressing their true inner feelings merely to survive the brutal corporate landscape, and he presents this work as a lifeline to those exhausted workers. Moving right along to Section 2, Profit versus Spiritual Truth, the Great Divide. Now, the traditional view of modern economics usually operates on the assumption that humans are just driven by desire, acting purely to maximize financial profit. Basically, business and religion are contradictory. If a company doesn't make a profit, it goes bankrupt, regardless of how enlightened the CEO might be. But the text challenges this head-on. It argues that religion and business absolutely must be unified into one comprehensive value system. The core idea here is that true business success simply cannot ignore the spiritual dimension of the workforce that's actually conducting it. Which leads us to Section 3, Defining Ideal Economics, a new formula for value. So, what is ideal economics? The text defines it as an economic system where business value is measured not only by financial profit, but by its contribution to human happiness and societal well-being. It's a total reevaluation of what we consider a successful business transaction. It asks us to look way beyond the spreadsheet and actually measure the human joy generated by our work. To make this abstract theory a bit more concrete, the author uses this really brilliant, simple analogy: the stolen painting versus the masterpiece. Picture this. In scenario 1, someone sells a stolen painting for 1 million yen. In scenario 2, a dedicated artist sells a painting they painstakingly created themselves, also for 1 million yen. Purely in terms of traditional accounting, both activities generated the exact same financial profit. But, the author argues, there is no way these two transactions are of equal value. The second transaction carries this deep sense of spiritual happiness, effort, and pride that the first one completely lacks. So it breaks down like this. Financial profit is definitely still necessary. It sustains the business physically, keeping it alive just like a body needs food. But human happiness has to be factored in because it elevates the soul and society. According to the text, a truly rational economic actor isn't just chasing money. They're maximizing profit and happiness simultaneously. All right, our final section. Number 4, the workplace as a dojo, a visionary future. This is where the text predicts a radical structural transformation. Imagine a utopian company with these specific traits. First, character development actually becomes a primary metric for corporate promotion. You can't just be a good earner. You have to be respected by your peers. Second, the workplace transforms into a dojo, literally a training ground for human character building. Third, the author envisions companies hiring dedicated spiritual guides right alongside their corporate lawyers and accountants. And finally, get this, the text suggests dedicating time after 3 p.m. specifically to spiritual and personal growth through seminars and guidance right there in the office. Because the ultimate goal here isn't just making money to buy more stuff. The text argues that the financial capital and profits a company generates should be purposefully and systematically reinvested back into uplifting human minds. It's really about taking the earthly wealth generated by business and converting it directly into spiritual training and societal betterment. So, to tie it all together, profit drives survival, but truth elevates the soul. The author is bridging that massive gap between the gritty, exhausting morning commute we talked about at the beginning and ultimate spiritual enlightenment. The business world doesn't have to be a place where you suppress your heart to survive. In this framework, it can be the exact place where your character is forged. I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought. This text was written about the struggles of 1980s corporate life, but honestly, it feels incredibly relevant today. Think about it. If your workplace actively became a training ground for your character, if your next promotion depended on your spiritual growth just as much as your sales numbers, how would your daily grind change? I hope this explainer gave you a really clear, structured look into the concept of ideal economics. Keep learning, keep questioning, and we'll catch you in the next one.